Let's talk about Brahmacharya. So, this is one of the yamas in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. So, it's a way of living our life that will result in stress reduction for us. So, my name is Kathleen Helen Listen. I'm a lymphedema therapist. I'm also a yoga teacher, board certified in therapeutic massage and bodywork, an NCBTMB approved provider, and I'm the author of a few books, including Mindful Strategies for Adults with Adverse Childhood Experiences. This presentation is going to include looking at research and journal articles on Brahmacharya, talking about how it might impact us if you're a yoga teacher, if you're a massage therapist, if you're a massage therapy teacher. And we also have some breath work in this practice. So, in the part of the practice which is breath work, if you have any conditions like anxiety, breathing problems, cardiovascular blood pressure issues, any other issues that you think might impact your ability to start a breathwork practice, it's a good idea to skip over the breathwork parts and just join us for the research and commentary and talk to your primary care physician about whether breathwork is going to be right for you as a stress self-management practice. And even if you usually love your breath work, you've been practicing breath work with me in other videos. If today or right now, anxiety, lightheadedness, dizziness, rapid heartbeat, shortness of breath, any other symptoms that you think, hey, this is my body telling me this is not right for me right now, we'll listen to our bodies and we will not do the breath work. And then you can just stick around for the conversation and the yoga philosophy. Okay, so just like every presentation in this sequence, we'll start with a mindful moment. So I have my bowl with me today, so we'll play a sound. And I'll invite you to come into a position that's respectful yet alert. Eyes can be open or closed. And I'll invite you to take a deeper inhale and a slower exhale. And just take a moment now to think about what is your previous experience, if any, with conversations about Brahmacharya. And what inspired you to press play today? What are some questions that you have about this topic today? And we are going to kind of tackle this topic and talk about it with the perspective of how can Brahmacharya help us be a better yoga practitioner, yoga teacher, and massage therapist, and maybe massage therapy teacher based on whatever we have in our life right now. So I'll invite you to end this short mindful moment with another deeper inhale in and slower exhale out. And we'll move into a little bit of a movement and breathwork practice, some yoga for the neck and shoulders. So I'll invite you to look up while you inhale and down while you exhale. Look up and inhale, down and exhale. Inhale as you look up and exhale as you look down. Bring the head back to center, and then inhale as you look right. Exhale as you look to the center. Inhale as you look left. Exhale as you look to the center. Inhale and look right. Exhale and look to the center. Inhale and look left. Exhale, look to the center. Inhale, look to the right. Exhale to the center. Inhale and look left. And exhale and look to the center. We'll switch around the movement now. As we inhale, the right ear will go to the right shoulder. Exhale, up to the center. Inhale, left ear to left shoulder. Exhale to the center. Inhale over to the right. Exhale to the center. Inhale to the left. Exhaling to the center. Last time inhaling to the right. Exhale to the center. Inhale to the left. And exhale to the center. As we inhale, let's pull our shoulders up and back. Exhale, down and forward. Continuing in the shoulder roll. Inhaling the shoulders up and back. Exhaling, down and forward. Inhale, up and back. Exhale, down and forward. Inhale, up, back. Exhale, down and forward. And then last inhale, up and back. And as we exhale down, let's turn this movement to the other direction. Inhaling back and up, exhaling down and forward. Inhaling and exhaling in the shoulder roll. 2 more here. Feeling our shoulders move. And then at this next inhale, hold it at the top. And then exhale, shoulders come down. Take a moment here to feel inside of the body, to feel our emotions after this short breathwork and movement practice. And now I'll invite you to start the stop technique. So I'll invite you to take just a moment to stop what you're doing. And then inhale as you take the next inhale, just pay attention to what's happening in the body. And then as you exhale, just observe what are your current feelings and emotions. Are there any notable physical sensations in your body? We don't need to change or judge them. We're just observing them. and then we can proceed. And we are going to talk about the Yama of Brahmacharya. So I think it's important, you'll hear a lot about this Yama. There's a lot of different ways people interpret it. It's good to start with the strictest interpretation, which we find, which is celibacy, not speaking to people that you would be sexually attracted to, not having sex with people that you would be sexually attracted to. And another interpretation is the literal sense of the words mean walking with God. And we do see that in other organized religions, particularly Roman Catholicism. I'm a Roman Catholic, and the priest is celibate and the priest is on a close walk with God. So we see the connection in different religions with celibacy and growing closer to God. So in this Western culture that I'm in here in America, we take a different definition of how we can incorporate this into our yoga practice because most of us are what is called in India as householders. So most of us have family, we have family obligations, and we are sexually active. So instead of kind of writing it off and saying, if you're not going to be celibate, then there is nothing to learn from this yama. I think it's good to both see where we should take the strict interpretation of this yama as celibacy and where we can see some of the other experts' interpretations and see if they have value in our life, knowing that it is absolutely true that we are causing ourselves a big roller coaster ride when we're talking about um, being non-celibate. Having an intimate relationship with another human being brings with it a lot of stress. So I completely understand what this yama in its strictest interpretation is meant to tell us. Like this will take a lot off of your stress reduction plate. I totally agree with that. And there are some places where we can be celibate, especially if you are a teacher. You should be celibate when it comes to your students. And as a massage therapist, we should not be having sexual relationships with our clients because of the power differential between teacher and student, the power differential between massage therapist and client. It's also a value for us to look at what is could be stress reducing in alternative interpretations of Brahmacharya that we can bring into the rest of our lives. So let's take a look at what different journal articles are saying about this yama. So in the Vashista Samhita, Shaw and Dave quote it as saying, restraint of the senses and attachment of the mind to Brahma is called celibacy. So attaching the mind to God and restraining the senses. So we're more able to focus and attach ourselves to God. And I love this little picture of this furry white dog because I have a furry white dog at home and I can definitely tell you that he is attached, that he wants to be close to you, that he wants to be interacting with you, that he wants to be with you at every moment. And that is where we could definitely take a inspiration from for a potential attachment to God is from the furry little creatures that love to be close to us. So the Patanjali Yoga Sutra is quoted by Shaw and Dave as saying, one who observes continence, which is their translation for Brahmacharya, gets illuminated and acquires various siddhis. So this concept of illumination, when you practice continence, you will find your life illuminated. You will find yourself illuminated. And another, Sumertini's translation, by practicing Brahmacharya, you gain strength continuously. So this concept of gaining strength uh, by practicing continence, practicing not doing things to excess. So Shah and Dave give us some words of wisdom, and that is, it is we who should control the desires and not have our desires controlling us. Once the desires start ruling us, we tend to lose our freedom. And if desires are not fulfilled, then we lose our mental and physical well-being. And this, for me, is perfectly illustrated by this image, which I chose for us for this slide, which is this concept of the candy shop. So imagine a child or yourself as a child living perfectly happily, intrinsically joyful until it comes into a candy shop. And then this is when desires start controlling them. There can be often unable to control their desire, so then you'll see different behaviors. This because they are lost their freedom of just being their joyful self because the desire to have this candy, the desire to negotiate, the desire to beg, the desire to try to wheedle and cajole and nag into getting this something that they now want more than anything else that they can think of. That desire is controlling them. And invariably, you will either have somebody with um, who is given everything and then they end up with a tummy ache and they are sickened from the overindulgence to these desires, or they're very mad, they're very frustrated, they're screaming, they're crying, they're having a tantrum, they cannot control their emotions because it's just running too high when they see this candy shop. And how many things in our life, though maybe as adults we can walk away from the candy shop, how many things are we not walking away from? Is that social media? Is that TV? Like whatever it is, what is potentially something that is controlling us versus we are controlling its presence in our life? So Martini continues in the yoga system, celibacy means controlling oneself from sexual activity, both in action and in mind. And the result is it's a hindrance of the spiritual path. So this is the most firm definition of this. You will control yourself from having sexual activity, and that is because being focused on a relationship can hinder you going forward in your spiritual path. So Rathor says the principle of Brahmacharya, which encourages moderation, so that's more of this continence and moderation and wise use of energy, has been linked to better emotional regulation and greater life satisfaction. So that this is another option for thinking about this concept that we can bring into many areas of our daily life. Moderation, the wise use of energy versus letting our desires control us. If we practice things in moderation, if we're not binging on anything, we will find it, or like he says, they say it has been linked to better emotional regulation and greater life satisfaction when we can live in moderation. So now that we've looked at a little bit of the theory, I can invite us into a period of breath work. So this will be the 5-5 breathing. So we're going to inhale for a count of 5, exhale for a count of 5. I'll keep the time and we'll continue for 5 minutes. So that's 30 breaths in total. I'll invite you to get into that relaxed yet alert position, and your eyes can be open or closed. And we'll start by exhaling fully and then inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale, 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 inhale. We're about halfway done. Exhale, inhale, 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 exhale. Last inhale and last exhale. So I'll invite you to let that way of breathing go. Breathe naturally And take a moment here to feel how you feel inside of your body and your emotions after this short 5-minute breathing practice. Let's move back into looking at the literature. So this is from an excellent book. I'll give the title at the end of the presentation. It covers the yamas and the niyamas, one chapter at a time. And this book is, Adele is talking about Brahmacharya as non-excess. And I share this picture because of the story that was shared in the chapter about two people having a cup of chai and kind of making it into a tradition where they're sharing, they're having a conversation and having this chai. And then slowly over time, they see that the chai has taken on more of an importance than just as a beverage for hydration. And it's interesting how things that we consume, particularly in the American culture, it's kind of sold to us as it's not just the item, it's also the emotion and the story that goes along with it. And we see a lot of this in the way that massage is marketed. So it's important to us as massage therapists to see how massage is marketed. And often, if you look at the research on the percentage of people that have massage in America and the reasons that they talk about why they have massage, it's most people are reporting that massage is a form of healthcare for them, like pain control or injury prevention or healing type of modality. But if you looked at the marketing for many types of massage, in the just the general culture, if you ask someone, perhaps they would say that massage was like a treat or it was an indulgence or if it was for like a rich person or someone, that like can afford it and it's part of like their lifestyle rather than something that they use for pain control. And that we see that with so many items in the world. That something will be a reward or an indulgence. And then the thing isn't just the thing it is anymore. It comes with a story around it. And then that can potentially be why you find yourself maybe picking up an object that you wouldn't necessarily purchase because of the story that is attached to that object. Um, and you see it all the time in like the handbag that shouldn't cost so much that it does, but it is not just a handbag, it's a way of signaling that you are a certain style of person. Or if you're buying yourself a food or a treat or a gift or this or that, and it's because you need a reward, because you need an indulgence, because someone else needs a reward, you find yourself purchasing something which you maybe would not have purchased. And it's because of the story that is on that object. And so the main theory that we have to think of is like in the situation that Adele talks about, are you having the chai or is the chai having you? If you are buying something, are you buying it because you need it or are you buying it because of this story of consumption and your need for it? Are you hanging on to things that you shouldn't hang on to because of the story that is around them? And that really ties into this next picture here. It's the feeding of a mental story versus having bodily comfort. So why do we see this image with so many out of date um, electronics. And even more so, you can see a plug there at the bottom. So you can see that they're unplugged. They're not currently being used. There's so many of them. But for nostalgia, because they used to belong to someone, whatever the story is around them, they are still on this wall in this house. And then below it, the magazines and how many of the previous generations have really been keeping these magazines because of a mental story of, whether they might be useful or I need to keep them, whatever these mental stories that we have are ending up in these garage full of buckets full of items that we don't use, storage bins and storage units that we pass by on our way home. We'll see the storage units where you're paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars to store things that you don't need in your everyday life, absolutely, because they are in some kind of storage bin. And many times you are keeping these things because of the mental story. And if we focus on Brahmacharya as continence, as non doing something to access, we can see that perhaps having a collection of every single National Geographic or having all of these different electronics on the wall is a story of excess when they're not being used, when they're not being utilized. They are not there because they are useful to us. They are there because they're feeding a mental story. So let's transition into how would we use this in our daily life. So there are two places that I think we can use all the different ideas of Brahmacharya, and one of them is in yoga class, particularly if we're a yoga teacher. The first thing that we could do is custody of the eyes. So that means you're not ogling or getting an eyeful of your other students while they're on their own spiritual journey on their own mats. It is not a dating place. It is not a place to try to hook up with someone else while people are trying to focus and do their own practice. Also, it's important to know the awareness of the power of yoga. And this is into the theory of non-excess, not doing something excessively, because yoga is very powerful. And that means that if something has a use and it's powerful, it's possible to overuse it and experience negative effects. So there's a resource, it's called Cheetah House, cheetah as in the wild animal house. And that is kind of a repository and resource for research on the negative effects of mindfulness practice of meditation. So if something is useful, then that means if you use it too much, it can be have negative impacts for us. And Cheetah House is a resource to learn more about that. So stay aware of the power of yoga and make sure you practice moderation in your yoga practice. Also, professional boundaries, especially if you're a yoga teacher, I would say Brahmacharya definitely means celibacy when it comes to the relationship between you and your yoga students. There is a power dynamic that we learn a lot more deeply in our massage classes as massage students, because there's also that power dynamic in the massage studio. And so that leads to my advice on brahmacharya and massage therapy. And understand that there's also that power dynamic. It's a very unique place, massage therapy school. It's unlike other professions because we are touching one another. So we have very multifaceted relationships with our fellow students. So it's definitely a good idea to practice brahmacharya, non-excess, and celibacy when it comes to our relationship with our other massage students. It can just get really complex really fast, and that can increase our sympathetic nervous system, our stress hormones, because we're navigating that roller coaster of emotions. And then, as I've talked about all throughout the class, as a massage therapist, you should not be, it's ethically, and it's an ethical tenet to not have a sexual relationship with one of your clients unless you had a relationship with them before you initiated your relationship, professional relationship as a massage therapist. All right, so we talked a lot about this. Now we've come to our second type of breath work today. So that will be alternate nostril breathing. And I'll leave this slide up for people who have not practiced this before. So this is you breathe first in and out of one nostril and then in and out of the other. And how you close the nostril we're not breathing out of is with this mudra. You see that the person is demonstrating for us. So the index and the middle finger will be at that pad of the bottom of the thumb, and we will use the ring finger and the thumb to close off the one nostril at a time while we're breathing through the other. So kind of make this shape in your right hand while I switch the slide, and then we can learn more about what we're doing today. So as you see this slide, you'll see that those four directions in bold are the sequence of breathing that we're doing. So I will lead us through two cycles, and then it will be up to you to go at your own pace for the rest of the 5 minutes. I'll keep the time for the 5 minutes and let us know when we're done, but the pace of the breathing is up to you. You can definitely feel after a few sequences, after a few cycles, that your breathing can possibly get slower as you get calmer. Your breaths, individual breaths can get longer. So that's why we leave the pacing to you. We'll start by sitting in a comfortable yet alert position with a straight spine. And close your eyes if that feels comfortable, especially if you've done alternate nostril breathing before. We'll start with a few diaphragmatic breaths. And we'll get our hand held in this mudra. And I'll start us off by closing the right nostril with the thumb as we exhale through the left nostril. Inhaling through the left nostril. And closing that left nostril with the ring finger, exhaling through the right nostril. Inhaling through the right nostril. Closing the nostril off with the thumb, exhaling through the left nostril. Inhaling through the left nostril. Then closing it off with the ring finger, exhaling through the right nostril. We'll inhale through that right nostril. And now it's up to you to continue this cycle. I'll keep the time. We're halfway through. So I'll lead us through one last round and then we'll be finished. I'll invite you to close your right nostril with your thumb and exhale through your left nostril. Inhale through your left nostril. Close your left nostril with your ring finger, exhaling through the right nostril. Inhaling through the right nostril. And then closing it and exhaling through the left nostril. And you can release your hands. Take a few deep breaths through both nostrils before ending this practice. I'll invite you to take a moment now and feel into your body, into your emotions and your spirit. After this 5 or 6 minute practice of alternate nostril breathing. And now we'll move into a guided meditation. So your eyes can be open or closed. And with each inhale, I'll invite you to imagine gathering energy from the earth. And with each exhalation, imagining letting go of distractions, overindulgence, or restlessness. So we're inhaling in that good energy from the earth and exhaling out everything we no longer need. And I'll invite you to consider, where do you direct your energy day to day? And I'll invite you to notice areas of your life that feel draining or excessive. I'll invite you to consider how it would feel to choose moderation and balance and to honor your boundaries. And if that feels good to you, I'll invite you to repeat silently. I choose moderation and balance. I honor my boundaries. Now I invite you to consider what it would feel like to honor your body and mind and use your energy wisely and purposefully. And if that would feel good, I'll invite you to repeat silently. I honor my body and mind, using my energy wisely and purposefully. I'll invite you to feel the meaning of these words resonating deep within you. Now we're going to move into an awareness of sound meditation. So your eyes can remain open or closed. And I'll invite you to focus on sounds in your environment. So we'll start by listening to the sounds in the room. We're listening to sounds that are close to us. Now I'll invite you to listen to sounds from outside of your space. We're noting sounds that originate a little bit farther away from us. Now I'll invite you to become open and aware of all sound. sounds that are inside you, sounds that are close to you, and sounds that are farther away. And now I'll ring the bowl so we can listen to it. I'll invite you to open your eyes and note any changes in sight, sound, or emotions. And as we come to the end of this discussion, this practice, I'll invite you to feel into your body, into your emotions, into your spirit. How do you feel after today's practice? If you'd like to take an online continuing education class on mindfulness, there's a free one that I have that's at this website. And I'd like to thank you for watching the Yoga for Massage Therapists series. You'll find more breathwork break and yoga break and Yama videos at this website. And you can find me on Instagram at stress reduction for lymphedema. And if you'd like to take a nice deep dive into lymphatic breathwork and lymphatic wellness, my YouTube channel has a free 10-session series. Here are the resources that I drew upon for today's presentation.